Hello, everyone. Welcome to Night Positive Podcast, where we spread is love and positivity. Thanks for tuning in. Knowledge. Wait. This is an age of industrial power in which we are living. The source of all this power is organized effort. Not only has the has the management of industrial enterprises effectively organized individual workers, but in many instances, mergers of industry have been effective in such a manner and to the end that these combinations, as in the case of the United States Steel Corporation, have accumulated practically unlimited power. One may hardly One may hardly glance at the news of a day's event without seeing a report of some business, industrial, or financial merger bringing under one management enormous resources and thus creating great power. Thus, let me see. One day it is a group of banks, another day it is a chain of railroads, the next day it is a combination of steel plants, all merging for the purpose of developing power through highly organized and coordinated effort. Knowledge, general in nature and unorganized, is not power. It is only potential power. The material out of which real power may be developed. Any modern library contains an unorganized record of all the knowledge of value to which the present stage of civilization is here. But this knowledge is not power because it is not organized. Every form of energy and every species of animal or plant life to survive must be organized. The oversized animals whose bones have filled nature's boneyard through extinction have left mute but certain evidence that none organizations mean annihilation. From the electron, the smallest particle of matter, to the largest star in the universe. These and every material thing in between these two extremes offer proof positive that one of nature's first laws is that of organization. Fortunate is the individual who recognizes the importance of this law and makes it his business to familiarize himself with the various ways in which the law may be applied to advantage. The astute businessman has not only recognized the importance of the law of organized effort, but he has made this law the warp and the woof of his power. Without any knowledge whatsoever of the principle of mind chemistry, or that such a principle exists, Many men have accumulated great power by merely organizing the knowledge they possessed. The majority of all who have discovered the principle of mind chemistry and developed that principle into a mastermind have stumbled upon this knowledge by the merest of accident, often failing to recognize the real nature of their discovery or to understand the source of their power. This author is of the opinion that all living persons who at the present time are consciously making use of the principle of mind chemistry and developing power through the blending of minds may be counted on the fingers of the two hands, with perhaps several fingers left to spare. If this estimate is even approximately true, the student will readily see that there is but slight danger of the field of mind chemistry practice becoming overcrowded. It is a well known fact that one of the most difficult tasks that any businessman must perform is that of inducing those who are associated with him to coordinate their efforts in a spirit of harmony. To induce continuous cooperation between a group of workers in any undertaking is next to impossible. Only the most efficient leaders can accomplish this highly desired object. But once in a gray, while such a leader will rise above the horizon in the field of industry, business, or finance, and then the world hears of a Henry Ford, Thomas A. Edison, John D. Rockefeller. Power and success are practically synonymous terms. Now, here's a quote. Never in the history of the world has there been such abundant opportunity as there is now for the person who is willing to serve before trying to collect. One grows out of the other. Therefore, any person who has the knowledge and the ability to develop power through the principle of harmonious coordination of effort between individual minds or in any other manner may be successful in any reasonable undertaking that is possible of successful termination. It must not be assumed that a mastermind will immediately spring mushroom fashion out of every group of minds which make pretense of coordination in the spirit of harmony. Harmony, in the real sense of meaning of the word, is rare among groups of people, as is genuine Christianity among those who proclaim themselves Christian. Harmony is the nucleus around which the state of mind known as mastermind must be developed. Without this element of harmony, there can be no mastermind and a truth which cannot be repeated too often. Woodrow Wilson had in mind the development of a mastermind to be composed of groups of minds representing the civilized nations of the world. In his proposal for establishing the League of Nations, Wilson's conception was the most far-reaching humanitarian idea ever created in the mind of a man, because it dealt with a principle which traces sufficient power to establish a real brotherhood of men on earth. The League of Nations, or some similar the time when such unity of mind will take place will be measured largely by the time required for the great universities and non-sectarian institutions of learning to supplant ignorance and superstition with understanding and wisdom. This time is rapidly approaching. The psychology of the revival meeting. The old orgy known as the revival offers a favorable opportunity to study the principle of mind chemistry known as mastermind. It will be observed that music plays no small part in bringing about the harmony essential to the blending of a group of minds in a revival meeting. Without music, the revival meeting would be a tame affair. During revival services, the leader of the meeting has no difficulty in creating harmony in the minds of his devotees. But it is a well-known fact that this state of harmony lasts no longer than the presence of the leader, after which the mastermind he has temporarily created disintegrates. By arousing the emotional nature of his followers, the revivalist has no difficulty, under the proper stage setting and with the embellishment of the right sort of music, in creating a mastermind which becomes noticeable to all who come in contact with it. The very air becomes charged with a positive, pleasing influence which changes the entire chemistry of all minds present. The revivalists calls this energy a spirit of the Lord. This author, through experiments conducted with a group of scientific investigators and laymen who were unaware of the nature of the experiment, have, has created the same state of mind and the same positive atmosphere without calling it the spirit of the Lord. On many occasions, this author has witnessed the creation of the same positive atmosphere in a group of men and women engaged in the business of salesmanship without calling it the Spirit of the Lord. The author helped conduct a school of salesmanship for Harrisman Parker, founder of the Cooperative Society of Chicago, and by the use of the same principle of mind chemistry, which the revivalist calls the Spirit of the Lord, so transformed the nature of a group of 3,000 men and women, all of whom were without former sales experience, that they sold more than $10 million worth of securities in less than 9 months and earned more than $1 million for themselves. It was found that the average person who joined this school would reach the zenith of his or her selling power within 1 week, after which it was necessary to revitalize the individual's brain through a group of sales meetings. These sales meetings were conducted on a very much the same order as are the modern revival meetings of the religionist, with much the same stage equipment, including music and high powered speakers who exhorted the salespeople in very much the same manner as does the modern religious revivalist. Call it religion, psychology, mind chemistry, or anything you please. They are all based upon the same principle. But there is nothing more certain than the fact that wherever a group of minds are brought into contact in a spirit of perfect harmony, each mind in the group becomes immediately supplemented and reinforced by the noticeable energy called the mastermind. For all this, for all this, writer professes to know this uncharted energy may be the spirit of the Lord, but it operates just as favorably when called by any other name. The human brain and nervous system constitute a piece of intricate machinery which but a few, if any, understand. When controlled and properly directed, this piece of a machinery can be made to perform wonders of achievement, and if not controlled, it will perform wonders. All right. Fantastic and phantom like in nature, as may be seen by examining the inmates of any insane asylum. The human brain has direct connection with a continuous influx of energy from which man derives his power to think. The brain receives this energy, mixes it with the energy created by the food taken into the body, and distributes it to every portion of the body through the aid of the blood and the nervous system. It thus becomes what we call life. From what source this outside energy comes, no one seems to know. All we know about it is that we must have it or die. It seems reasonable to suppose that this energy is none other than that which we call ether, and that it flows into the body along with the oxygen from the air as we breathe. Every normal human body possesses a first class chemical laboratory and a stock of chemicals sufficient to carry on the business of breaking up, assimilating, and properly mixing and compounding the food we take into the body, preparatory to distributing it to wherever it is needed as a bodybuilder. Ample tests have been made, both with man and beast, to prove that the energy known as the mind plays an important part in this chemical operation of compounding and transforming food into the required substances to build and keep the body in repair. It is known that worry, excitement, or fear will interfere with the digestive process, and in extreme cases, stop this process altogether, resulting in illness or death. It is obvious then that the mind enters into the chemistry of food digestion and distribution. It is believed by many eminent authorities, although it may never have been scientifically proved, that the energy known as mind or thought may become contaminated with negative or unsociable units to such an extent that the whole nervous system is thrown out of working order. Digestion is interfered with, and various and sundry forms of disease will manifest themselves. Financial difficulties and unrequited love affairs head the list of causes of such mind disturbances. Sorry, everyone. My mic wasn't working. Harmony. Harmony seems to be one of nature's laws, without which there can be no such thing as organized energy. Right, so I read this part already. Wasting my time. Without the law of harmony, there can be no organization of knowledge. For what may one ask? Is organized knowledge except the harmony of facts and truths and natural laws? The moment discord begins to creep in at the front door, harmony edges out of the back door, so to speak. Whether the application is made to a business partnership or the orderly movement of the planets of the heavens, if the student gathers the impression that the author is laying undue stress upon the importance of harmony, let it be remembered that lack of harmony is the first and often the last and only cause of failure. There can be no poetry, nor music, nor oratory worthy of notice without the presence of harmony. Good architecture is largely a matter of harmony. Without harmony, a house is nothing but a mass of building material, more or less a monstrosity. Sound business management plants the very sinews of its existence in harmony. Every well dressed man or woman is a living picture and a moving example of harmony. With all these workday illustrations of the important part which harmony plays in the affairs of the world, nay, in the operation of the entire universe, how could any intelligent person leave harmony out of his definite aim in life? As well, have no definite aim to omit harmony as the chief stone of its foundation. The human body is a complex organization of organs, glands, blood vessels, nerves, and brain cells, muscles, etc. The mind energy, which stimulates to action and coordinates the efforts of the component parts of the body, is also a plurality of ever varying and changing energies. From birth until death, there's continuous struggle, often assuming the nature of open combat between the forces of the mind. For example, the lifelong struggle between the motivating forces and desires of the human mind, which takes place between the impulses of right and wrong, is well known to everyone. Every human being possesses at least two distinct mind powers or personalities, and as many as six distinct personalities have been discovered in one person. One of man's most delicate tasks is that of harmonizing these mind's forces so that they may be organized and directed toward the orderly attainment of a given objective. Without this element of harmony, no individual can become an accurate thinker. It is no wonder that leaders in business and industrial enterprises, as well as those in politics and other fields of endeavor, find it so difficult to organize groups of people so they will function in the attainment of a given objective without friction. Each individual human being possesses forces within himself which are hard to harmonize. Even when he is placed in the environment most favorable to harmony, if the chemistry of the individual's mind is such that the units of his mind cannot be easily harmonized, think how much more difficult it must be to harmonize a group of minds so they will function as one in an orderly manner through what is known as a mastermind. The leader who successfully develops and directs the energies of a mastermind must possess tact, patience, persistence, self confidence, intimate knowledge of mind chemistry, and the ability to adapt himself in a state of perfect poise and harmony to quickly changing circumstances without showing the least sign of annoyance. How many are there who can measure up to this requirement? The successful leader must possess the ability to change the color of his mind, chameleon like, to fit every circumstance that arises in connection with the object of his leadership. Moreover, he must possess the ability to change from one mood to another without showing the slightest signs of anger or lack of self control. The successful leader must understand the 15 laws of success and be able to put into practice any combination of these 15 laws whenever occasion demands. Without this ability, no leader can be powerful, and without power, no leader can long endure. The meaning of education. There has long been a general misconception of the meaning of the word educate. The dictionaries have not aided in the elimination of this misunderstanding because they have defined the word educate as an act of imparting knowledge. The word educate has its roots in the Latin word educo, which means to develop from within, to induce, to draw out, to grow through the law of use. Nature hates idleness in all its forms. She gives continuous life only to those elements which are in use. Tie up an arm or any other portion of the body, taking it out of use, and the idle part will soon atrophy and become lifeless. Reverse the order, give an arm more than normal use, such as that engaged in by the blacksmith who wields a heavy hammer all day long, and that arm developed from within grows strong. Power grows out of organized knowledge, but mind you, it it grows out of it through application and use. A man may become a walking encyclopedia of knowledge without possessing any power of value. This knowledge becomes power only to the extent that it is organized, classified, and, next page, and put into action. Some of the best educated men the world has known possess much less general knowledge than some who have been known as fools. The difference between the two being that the former put what knowledge they possess into use while the latter made no such application. An educated person is one who knows how to acquire everything he needs in the attainment of his main purpose in life without violating the rights of his fellow men. It might be a surprise to many so called men of learning to know that they come nowhere near qualification as men of education. It might also be a great surprise to many who believe they suffer from lack of learning. To know that they are well educated, the successful lawyer is not necessarily the one who memorizes the greatest number of principles of laws. On the contrary, the successful lawyer is the one who knows where to find a principle of law, plus a variety of opinions supporting that principle, which fit the immediate needs of a given case. In other words, the successful lawyer is he who knows where to find the law he wants when he needs it. This principle applies with equal force to the affairs of industry and business. Henry Ford had but little elementary schooling, yet he is one of the best educated men in the world because he has acquired the ability so to combine natural and economic laws, to say nothing of the minds of men, that he has the power to get anything of a material nature he wants. Some years ago during the World War, Mr. Ford brought suit against the Chicago Tribune, charging that newspaper with libellous publication of statements concerning him, one of which was a statement that Ford was an ignorant pacifist, etc. When the suit came up for trial, the attorneys for the Tribune undertook to prove by Ford himself Tribune undertook to prove by Ford himself that their statement was true, that he was ignorant, and with this object in view, they catechize, catechize, catechize. I never seen this word before. Catechize and cross-examined him on all manner of subjects. One question they asked was how many soldiers did the British send over to subdue the rebellion in the colonies in 1776? With a dry grin on his face, Ford nonchalantly replied, I do not know just how many, but I have heard that it was a lot more that never went back. Loud laughter from court, jury, courtroom spectators, and even from the frustrated lawyer who had asked the question. This line of interrogation was continued for an hour or more, Ford keeping perfectly calm the meanwhile. Finally, however, he had permitted the smart aleck lawyers to play with him until he was tired of it, and in reply to a question which was particularly obnoxious and insulting, Ford straightened himself up, pointed his finger at the questioning lawyer, and replied, if I should really wish to answer the foolish question you have just asked, or any of the others you have been asking, let me remind you that I have a row of electric push buttons hanging over my desk, and by placing my finger on the right button, I could call in men who could give me the correct answer to all the questions you have asked, and to many that you have not the intelligence either to ask or answer. Now will you kindly tell me why I should bother about filling my mind with a lot of useless details in order to answer every full question that anyone may ask, when I have able men all about me who can supply me with all the facts I want when I call for them? This answer is quoted from memory, but it substantially relates Ford's answer. There was silence in the courtroom. The questioning attorney's underjaw dropped down. His eyes opened widely. The judge leaned forward from the bench and gazed in Mr. Ford's direction. Many of the jury awoke and looked around as if they had heard an explosion, which they actually had. A prominent clergyman who was present in the courtroom at the time said later that the scene reminded him of that which must have existed when Jesus Christ was on the trial before Pontius Pilate, just after he had given his famous reply to Pilate's question, "What is truth?" In the vernacular of the day, Ford's reply knocked the questioner cold. Up to the time of that reply, the lawyer had been enjoying considerable fun at what he believed to be Ford's expense by adroitly displaying the lawyer's sample case of general knowledge and comparing it with what he inferred to be Ford's ignorance as to many events and subjects. But that answer spoiled the lawyer's fun. It also proved once more to all who had the intelligence to accept the proof that true education means mind development, not merely the gathering and classifying of knowledge. Ford could not, in all probability, have named the capitals of the states of the United States, but he could have, and in fact had gathered the capital with which to turn many wheels within every state in the Union. Education, let us not forget this, consists of the power with which to get everything one needs when he needs it, without violating the rights of his fellow men. Moreover, the unique and unusual appearance of the log bungalows served as an advertisement of the plan, whereas many would have considered it a real calamity had they been compelled to build out of such crude materials. Less than 5 miles from the location of these log houses, the same man purchased an old worked out farm of 150 acres for $25 an acre, a price which the seller believed to be extremely high. By building a dam 100 feet in length, the purchaser of this old farm turned a stream of water into a lake that covered 15 acres of the land, stocked the lake with fish, then sold the farm off in building lots to people who wanted summering places around the lake. The total profit realized from this simple transaction was more than $25 million, and the time required for its consummation was one summer. Yet this man of vision and imagination was not educated in the orthodox meaning of that term. Let us keep in mind the fact that it is through these simple illustrations of the use of organized knowledge that one may become educated and powerful. In speaking of the transaction here related, the college president who sold the 50 acres of worthless land for $500 said, "Just think of it. That man, whom most of us might call ignorant, mixed the ignorance with 50 acres of worthless land and made the combination yield more yearly than I earned from 5 years of application of so-called education." Now here's a quote. "When you lose your sense of humor, get a job running an elevator because your life will be a series of ups and downs anyway." There is an opportunity, if not scores of them, in every state in America to make use of the idea here described. From now on, make it your business to study the lay of all land you see. Wait, let me see. That is similar to that described in this lesson, and you may find a suitable place for developing a similar money making enterprise. The idea is particularly adaptable in localities where bathing beaches are few, as people naturally like such conveniences. The automobile has caused a great system of public highways to be built throughout the United States. On practically every one of these highways, there is a suitable spot for a cabin city for tourists, which can be turned into a regular money making mint by the man with the imagination and self confidence to do it. There are opportunities to make money all around you. This course was designed to help you see these opportunities and to inform you how to make the most of them after you discover them. Who can profit most by the law of success philosophy? Railroad officials who want a better spirit of cooperation between their trainmen and the public they serve. Salaried people who wish to increase their earning power and market their services to better advantage. Salespeople who wish to become masters in their chosen field. The law of success philosophy covers every known law of selling and includes many futures not included in any other course. Industrial plant managers who understand the value of greater harmony among their employees. Railroad employees who wish to establish records of efficiency which will lead to more responsible positions with greater pay. Merchants who wish to extend their business by adding new customers. The law of success philosophy will help any merchant increase his business by teaching him how to make a walking advertisement of every customer who comes into his store. All right. And the list goes on. Summary of the introduction, the mastermind. The purpose of this summary is to aid the student in mastering the central idea around which the lesson has been developed. This idea is represented by the term mastermind, which has been described in great detail throughout the lesson. All new ideas, and especially those of an abstract nature, find lodgment in the human mind only after much repetition. A well known truth which accounts for the restatements in this summary of the principle known as the mastermind. A mastermind may be developed by a friendly alliance in a spirit of harmony of purpose between two or more minds. This is an appropriate place at which to explain that out of every alliance of minds, whether in a spirit of harmony or not, there is developed another mind which affects all participating in the alliance. No two or more minds ever met without creating out of the contact another mind, but not always is this invisible creation a mastermind. There may be, and altogether too often there is, developed out of the meeting of two or more minds a negative power which is just the opposite to a mastermind. There are certain minds which, as has already been stated throughout this lesson, cannot be made to blend in a spirit of harmony. This principle has its comparable analogy in chemistry, reference to which may enable the student to grasp more clearly the principle here referred to. For example, The chemical formula H2O, meaning the combining of two atoms of hydrogen with one atom of oxygen, changes these two elements into water. One atom one atom of hydrogen and one atom of oxygen will not produce water. Moreover, they cannot be made to associate themselves in harmony. There are many known elements which, when combined, are immediately transformed from harmless into deadly poisonous substances. Stated differently, many well known poisonous elements are neutralized and rendered harmless when combined with certain other elements. Just as the combining of certain elements changes their entire nature, the combining of certain minds changes the nature of those minds, producing either a certain degree of what has been called the mastermind or its opposite, which is highly destructive. Here's a quote by Ruber Louis Stevenson. An aim in life is the only fortune worth finding, and it is not to be found in foreign lands, but in the heart itself. Any man who has found his mother-in-law to be incompatible, excuse me, has experienced the negative application of the principle known as the mastermind. For some reason, as yet unknown, or investigators in the field of mind behavior, the majority of mothers-in-law appear to affect their daughters' husbands in a highly negative manner. The meeting of their minds with those of their sons-in-law, creating a highly antagonistic influence instead of a mastermind. This fact is too well known as a truth to make extended comment necessary. Some minds will not be harmonized and cannot be blended into a mastermind, a fact which all leaders of men will do well to remember. It is the leader's responsibility so to group his men that those who have been placed at the most strategic points in his organization are made up of the individuals whose minds can and will be blended in a spirit of friendliness and harmony. Ability so to group men is the thief outstanding quality of leadership. In lesson 1 of this course, the student will discover that this ability was the main source of both the power and fortune accumulated by the late Andrew Carnegie. Knowing nothing whatsoever of the technical and of the steel business, Carnegie so combined and grouped the men of which his mastermind was composed that he built the most successful steel industry known to the world during his lifetime. Henry Ford's gigantic success may be traced to the successful application of his self-same principle. With all the self-reliance a man could have, Ford nevertheless did not depend upon himself for the knowledge necessary in the successful development of his industries. Like Carnegie, he surrounded himself with men who supplied the knowledge which he himself did not and could not possess. Moreover, Ford picked men who could and did harmonize in group effort. The most effective alliances which have been resulted in the creation of the principle known as the mastermind have been those developed out of the blending of the minds of men and women. The reason for this is the fact that the minds of male and female will more readily blend in harmony than will the minds of males. Also, the added stimulus of sexual contact often enters into the development of a mastermind. Between a man and woman, it is a well known fact that the male of the species is keener and more alert for the chase. Let the goal or object of the chase be what it may. When inspired and urged on by a female, this human trait begins to manifest itself in the male at the age of puberty and continues throughout his life. The first evidence of it may be observed in athletics, where boys are playing before an audience made up of females. Remove the woman from the from the audience, and the game all known as football would soon become a very tame affair. A boy will throw himself into a football game with almost superhuman effort when he knows that the girl of his choice is observing him from the grandstand. And that the same boy will throw himself into the game of accumulating money with the same enthusiasm when inspired and urged on by the woman of his choice, especially if that woman knows how to stimulate his mind with her own through the law of the mastermind. On the other hand, that same woman may, through a negative application of the law of the mastermind, nagging, jealousy, selfishness, greed, vanity, drag this man down for sure defeat. All right, guys, that's all for tonight. Thank you. Thanks a lot for tuning in. See you guys on the next one. Stay tuned.